We've fallen into this kind of weird world where it's about being a genius, whereas the original meaning of the term was that everybody has a genius. And so rather than this idea of kind of measuring performance and basically ranking people, it's about thinking what's the potential of kids. And in fact, we know that kids measurably are getting much, much brighter. Much brighter. 40% brighter than they were in 1950.
Why is that, do we know?
Partly, I think, just the amount of information that people are processing is far, far greater. And so the amount of stimulation that just the average person gets in their average day is way, way more than they would have, 40, 50 years ago. So our brains are working so much harder. And if you add to that all the stuff that we use to leverage our intelligence, like laptops and phones and all that kind of stuff, our IQ is going through the roof.
In the book, you give parents some pointers on how to identify particular talents that their child might have, and you put them into certain categories like spies, frequent flyers and fidgeters. Can you just explain that aspect of it?
Well, concentration is one of the key things. It's hard to imagine being highly successful in any area of your life if you can't concentrate on things. And yet anybody who knows that, if you've ever learned to play a musical instrument or drive a car, you know concentration's a skill that we can improve on because it's something that starts really hard. And we also know kids sort of focus on different things when they concentrate. So the spies are kind of focused on sounds and pick up things, and you can't gossip in front of them because they pick up on everything. The frequent flyers kind of pick up weird ideas, combine them in strange ways. The fidgeters collect things and you find weird things in their pockets all the time. But they're actually kids that have got that strong desire to acquire. And, this very imaginative kids, happy wanderers, kind of wander around in a daze, got no idea what's going on most of the time, but they're visually tuned into people, and so they read people incredibly well. So, you can't conceal your emotions, even though you might want to at times from those sorts of kids. Yeah. And so, in a way, it's about capitalising on the strengths or the inner genius of kids, building upon that, and then leading that towards their area of success in life.
Now, we can bring that list back up. It was some of your suggestions in this book for parents who often have to, find a way through a maze of different theories and different approaches, different ideas. And kicking off at the top, we have being positive about the learning experience. How important is a great degree of positivity from parents?
Well, one of the things that's really important, of course, is to show you kids that learning is something that we all do, really, and learning is something that's important throughout life. And so the idea of sometimes we feel like we need to have the answers, but sometimes it's better to kind of go, well, I don't know the answer, but let's see if we can find out. And not just by going to, internet search and just doing it that way. It can be thinking about, well, how would we find out that answer? And it might be by talking to other people, it might be getting different points of view. But the idea of kind of being excited about learning, because learning's great fun. I mean, little kids wake up in the morning, they want to learn stuff. They ask why. But we kind of bash it out of them, sadly. Yeah. And so we've made it into a job. And that's a great shame, I think.
And also, you're encouraging the fostering of creativity as well, rather than bashing it out of them, as you say.
Yeah, I think we've undervalued grandparents in all of this picture of kind of the teachers of children as well. So we've often handed over the education of children to schools, and that's fine. Schools do a pretty good job by and large, but it's the parents and the grandparents who can really take that creative kind of spirit and give kids the chance of seeing how things, occur in an amazing way, I think.
And you suggest even setting up what you describe as a creativity corner with appropriate drop sheets and preventative measures to foster that creativity amongst kids.
Yeah, well, if we want kids to persist, we want to have somewhere in the house where things can get pretty mucky. I mean, genius is not neat, let's face it. And so you want to have somewhere where kids can start a project, or people can start a project, and they can leave it for a bit, because, of course, we've got to all learn that by leaving things sometimes we can kind of let them kind of, simmer and cook a bit in our heads and then come back and improve on our performance. That teaches persistence and motivation.
And of course, as kids move through school, the creativity is lessened as they, focus more on academia. Is there a time that's too late to start tapping into this natural genius that you say is present in every child?
I don't think it's ever too late, but I think sometimes the spirit of kids can get crushed by the ranking system that we use in schools, and that's such a shame. But it's a really important thing to think about, because if you don't help kids to capitalise on their own inner genius, they often get into the wrong path in life. And I often see people in my therapy room who, that they wish they'd done something completely different, and they often end up, around the age of 40, 45 in my therapy room, quite dispirited and kind of lost in life because they never capitalised on that early thing that they wanted to do.
Finally, Andrew, it basically comes down to parents coming up with what they think is the best approach. I've got 2 kids, and every day I'm coming up with different strategies of dealing with my kids and unlocking their creativity. Frances is expecting, of course, in a few months' time,
great.
So she's all ears as well.
I can start from scratch.
You can start from scratch. Indeed, but it just comes down to you as parents certainly taking into account your fantastic ideas, but just coming up with strategies that work for you.
Yeah, it's like a long-term process, obviously. So but it's about making things playful and fun. So it's not like turning this into a job, but it's sort of thinking, well, how can I really take on, as a parent or a grandparent, activating the inner genius in my child? How do I pick up their strengths, their abilities, and then make more of those and give them a broad range of experience, so that later on in their lives they've got a whole lot to tap on from, basically, when they want to take on their career or whatever it is.